Hello everyone! I haven't done a news update in a long time, but this is urgent because we have a lot to talk about. In this video, we're going to talk about an article written by Alfonso Castillo from Newsday regarding the cleanliness on Long Island Railroad. And I have an exclusive picture I must show you off from Facebook because I have my JavaScript turned off. The problem is if I turn it back on, then Newsday is going to charge me. So that's how you can beat Newsday in a way. There's no way you cannot beat Newsday without turning off your JavaScript. But yeah, we're going to read this article. The words are very important. It's very important to read what Alfonso printed in today's Newsday. It was, of course, published in today's Newsday, dated January 14th, 2019. We're also going to read a report from the New York Daily News regarding the subway signals and how they caused a majority of delays in the subway system in 2018. And of course, we're going to read two press releases from the MTA regarding the L train, because there is some interesting developments going on with the L train project. So without further ado, let's get started. Our first news article for today is from Newsday. And I'm quickly going to mention everything that we read today will be in the description below. So I'm, of course, going to keep everything up. And that way I don't get confused. Like, oh, I forgot to put this. And I can't get my articles cited. So we're going to read now the headline. Commuters to Long Island Railroad. Trains are dirty. Riders paint a picture of spilled beer and coffee on train floors and food grime on seats and windows. The Long Island Railroad counters that it has hired more workers and cleaned trains more than the past. Alright, so here's an example of these slobs who just honestly don't care about tossing out their trash. And as a fellow Long Island Railroad rider, I will say this right now. This is unacceptable. Let's zoom this out so you all get an idea of what I'm talking to you all about. And then we'll put it back to 150 afterwards. So you see here, this is an eastbound train on the Blah branch. This picture was taken back on Wednesday, January 9th, 2019. This was, of course, taken by photographer Thomas A. Ferrara. So thanks to him for taking these pictures, but once again I can't load them because JavaScript and everything. So once again, Alfonso Castillo, the head Newsday transit reporter who talks about Long Island Railroad issues, wrote this article. So here we go. The Long Island Railroad, just months after promising to ramp up efforts to keep trains clean, is fielding complaints from riders and its own workers about trains being filthy. The accounts of spilled beer and coffee on train floors, food grime on seats and windows, and bathrooms overflowing with sewage comes as the Long Island Railroad, under pressure by the Metropolitan Transportation Authority to cut costs, scales back a plan to increase train cleaning efforts. The Long Island Railroad says its car appearance maintainers clean each of the railroad's 115 train sets about 4.5 times a day. Now let's highlight something very important. Gonna highlight this part here because this is the picture I have to show you all from Facebook. I am not gonna reveal the identity of this person, but if this person is watching, you know who you are. I'll just say that. This was a morning train that was an eastbound from, I don't know, it was in morning or an evening, but most of you know what it is. Eastbound train from Atlantic Terminal, Brooklyn to Long Beach. And as you see here, this is from an M7. And the bathroom is just leaking water. So this is unacceptable, number one, that you have this in a train. So this pretty much proves the point on what Alfonso was talking about here. And again, we will get to that Daily News article later on in this video. Let's continue reading. It also comes as the railroad continues to carry a record number of riders including some, according to fellow commuters, think little of leaving their trash behind when they step off a train. The Long Island Railroad carries close to 300,000 riders on an average weekday. Alright. Ridership is at historically high level, places great demands on our system, said spokesman Aaron Donovan. We are meeting those demands with a diverse set of responses, and we continue to look at new ways to improve further. Although the railroad said it's increased its number of car cleaners and the number of times trains are cleaned each day by about 5%, many commuters said they haven't noticed a change for the better. Steve Oakswee, a 59-year-old commuter from Garden City, who has been commuting on the Long Island Railroad for 30 years, said, "Guys leave their beers around and people push their garbage in between the seat and wall, just below the window. I've seen people blow their noses and push it in there. And I'm just like, holy cow, how do you do that?" Also, this commuter is dubious of Long Island Railroad President Philip Bing's claim that the railroad has stepped up train cleaning efforts. They don't seem any cleaner. Those that are commuting to work every day, I think they're getting fed up. And listen, I've seen my fair share of beer drinkers on the train. I will admit that. I'm going to say this right now. I am a good rider, okay? I am a good passenger, all right? If I have trash, what I can do is, normally I keep a plastic bag with me, or I can try to go in the restroom and just dump the trash in there. The conductors don't mind. They're fine with it. They'll take it after. But I'm going to suggest to my fellow commuters, keep your trash with you, and when you get off at your station, that's why they purposely have the receptacles outside. I see them at Penn all the time, and I see them at Jamaica all the time. And most recently, when I was at Hicksville with Matt Camper in the past year, I've seen a lot of them too. So that just proves my point. The people are just lazy, and they don't want to pick up their trash. Let's just go back. I do apologize. Here we go. Tony Arroyo, 49 of Long Beach, similarly called his Long Island Railroad commute absolutely disgusting, and said he's sometimes reluctant to put his luggage on the floor of a train out of fear of what might get on its wheels. I've seen roaches. I mean, how do you get roaches on a moving train? An engineering consultant who believes the railroad's lax approach to train cleanliness is sending the wrong message to riders. He's also seen urinal cakes jammed in the train fence to double as air fresheners. It's a lot of the people. It's not nice, and people don't care. Garbage begets garbage. Upon joining the Long Island Railroad in April, President Ang made train cleanliness a top priority of his forward initiative, but amid a mandate from the MTA to cut costs by $330 million over the next 5 years, the railroad in budget documents revealed in December of 2018 said it would reduce and enhance car cleaning so that the overall elements of Long Island Forward will remain, just strategically scaled back. And I'm noticing in these credits that a lot of this is happening on the Babylon branch. The railroad said it has hired 21 new car appearance maintainers this year for a total cleaning crew of 415 workers. That's less than originally planned, Long Island Railroad officials said, but an increase from 394 employed last year and 389 in 2017. The workers, who earn a starting salary of about $44,000 a year, clean trains a total of 524 times every weekday, up from 499 before Long Island Railroad Forward was initiated. The railroad also had shelved the plan to have cleaning crews positioned at very key stations throughout the system, board trains in the middle of their runs to conduct quick cleanups. Alright, here's what Philip Bang told board members back in December. While we increased car cleaning from where we were, we didn't increase it to the level of the projections. The railroad said its heightened focus on cleanliness, also has included the addition of hand sanitizers to 100 bathrooms and counting, scaled back of distributing Long Island Railroad marketing materials on train seats, and plans for a campaign to remind customers to dispose of trash at platform receptacles. And that is my point. But I will mention this, that, whenever I take the Q30, Q31 bus, Fresh Meadows does have a community recycling center. Not that many people notice where it is, but it's in the not Francis Lewis Playground, no. I forget the name of it at the moment, but I will say this, we do have one. It's Utopia Parkway and Union Turnpike. And I'm going to urge everybody right now in Fresh Meadows, whoever lives in my area right now, if you use the Long Island Railroad and you plan to take the Q30, Q31 bus, maybe it's a little bit out of the way. Okay, maybe you have a little bit far of a walk. I mean, I thankfully have less of a walk. There's a playground. Union Turnpike, not my bad, 73rd Avenue, Utopia Parkway. My bad if I gave it wrong. I'll clarify. 73rd Avenue, Utopia Parkway. There is a recycle bin and there's regular trash. If somehow a circumstance comes where you can't find a receptacle, you can dump it over there. And New York City Parks maintains it. So that's what I normally do when I have my backpack. I just properly recycle my Diet Coke bottle so that way the city of New York can, it benefits them. But listen, I just want people to understand that this is insanity. I mean, this is just insane. And I can't even read this. Cold Spring Harbor morning train. Bill Gaines tweeted back in December. Stern with trash, beer cans, and sticky spills in multiple cars. Maureen Leslie tweeted back on January 4th. How is there so much garbage on the train and I'm only the second stop? Okay, Bill Gatherings also tweeted, oh, I do wear clean clothes, at least before getting onto this disaster. $3.50 per month and you want more, he wrote, referring to the proposed fare increase that could go into effect in March, which will be voted on next Thursday, January 24th at the full MTA board meeting at 2 Broadway. Just want to quickly mention that. Let me just keep reading this for a second. Okay, here we go. So, this is the part I really wanted to read. Long Island Railroad car appearance maintainers earn a starting salary of $44,000 a year, just like you mentioned earlier. They clean trains a total of 524 times on an average weekday. And then, as you see here, this is interesting. We read these numbers earlier. I'll highlight everything right now to prove a point. So you see here, here's 2017. Alright? Here's 2018. Maybe a little bit of an uptick right there. But in 2019, we're already, 14 days into the new year? And take a look at this. If I were to add these numbers up, they hired about 16 more people to clean these trains. And this is, of course, from the Long Island Railroad. We'll highlight that. And we'll get my point. And once again, thank you to Mr. Alfonso Castillo for reading, of course, writing this article. It's very important that quickly want to congratulate Alfonso. He is now officially with Newsday for 20 years. So this year will make 20 years since Alfonso Castillo joined Newsday. Let me read this restroom part. Here we go. Released in March, 73% of riders said they were satisfied with train interior cleanliness. Just 35% were satisfied with the cleanliness of train restrooms. So, once again, it just proves the point that people just don't want to take care of their trash. There's receptacles, and I really hope the Long Island Railroad will have a new campaign and will encourage people to stop leaving their trash in the trains. And I'm going to say this right now. If I see something on the train, of course I'm going to take a picture of it. And if I have to put it on the fail road, if I have to put it on Twitter, I will. So, enough with this. We're going to go to our next article from the Daily News. So, this is an alarming report I got from the Daily News as I was researching this, because originally I found this out from the Channel 7 app earlier because there was a public press conference about this. I don't know who had the press conference, but I know I did get a push notification from the Channel 7 app regarding this. So I will thank my local ABC affiliate here in New York, WABC Television, with regards to helping me find this news tip, and of course connecting me with this Daily News article I found for you all to read regarding just the nonsense with the subway signals. So the signals are pretty much failing us, are failing my fellow strap hangers as well, and we all have to deal with this every day, especially how it does happen on the Queens Boulevard IRT. So let's read this. There were a malfunctioning subway system on nearly every morning, which was weekday rush hour, Monday through Friday, last year in 2018, which was, of course, 230 work days, totaling 92% according to a report. The Riders Alliance, quoted as bad as we thought, pretty much came up with these numbers. Signals failed in one of the 5 work days. I'll just zoom this in for everybody. I do apologize. You all can catch up with me right here. Give a sec here. So once again, the numbers are just very alarming. 92% pretty much every day during 230 work days. I'll reiterate it again. It's just bad because you have a signal problem every single day on the system. This is overall. We're not talking about borough by borough, but this is very alarming. Okay, here we go. 6 subway lines that were more than 50 busted signals over the last year. Unfortunately, this is not good. The F line, which is of course served here in Queens, suffered the worst with 72 mornings of signal failing service over the year. And I'm going to admit this now, that the F, especially along with the E, M, and R, always have signal problems. And what I've noticed in the past year, every time I, investigate this myself, is that it always seems that there's always a signal problem at Forest Hill 71st Avenue. That's where the problem always seems to start. And honestly, it just annoys me. And once again, everybody watching this who takes the Queens Boulevard IRT every day, or in my case, weekly riders like we, this is not fair. This is completely not fair. And what's crazy is, this was literally 2 years after Joe Lhota, the previous MTA chairman, launched the Subway Action Plan. And of course, this was supposed to keep equipment from breaking down. So, once again, utter nonsense and another fail from New York City Transit. So, let's figure this out with more numbers here. Because once again, these numbers are just very disturbing to even read. There were severe signal malfunctions. 50 trains were delayed back in November of 2014. Then 2018, then average, I do apologize, 24 incidents according to the latest MTA stats. One measure of performance that it's getting better is the subway's on-time rate, where nearly 70% of subways ran on schedule. Among the best system's best performance in the past 4 years. And I am noticing that, alright, there are issues like train traffic. That's, again, out of the MTA's control when there is congestion. But I am noticing that it's getting a whole lot better. I will say that right now. I mean, there still are problems. There still are delays. And I still get annoyed with emergency track work, especially what happened last week when I was on the F. So let's continue reading this. They still have the CBTC, Communications-Based Train Control. And this is interesting. I will say that right now. Let's see. Riders Alliance, of course, are pushing Andrew Cuomo, the governor of New York, and lawmakers to push in the budget a new toll, which is called congestion pricing for driving into Manhattan's business district, as a centerpiece for an MTA funding plan. Cuomo suggests congestion pricing, but advocates want to see it in the budget that's due on April 1st. So pretty much this is an all in support of congestion pricing. You know, I'm going to say this again. Congestion pricing is just an issue that I have a problem with because, honestly, you're hurting the truck drivers. I'm going to say this again. You know, there are a lot of cargo trucks in the city, so you're pretty much going to ruin their livelihood by putting in congestion pricing when they already have to pay enough for tolls and gas and insurance. They're trying to make a living, and they want to put the blame on the drivers. I don't know why New York State can't figure out that there has to be other ways of revenue towards funding. And I've been suggesting this, that, you know, why don't we put, like, if they want to put marijuana in, here's the thing. Put it towards the MTA. That's one thing I would recommend doing. If you want to put a reasonable tax on marijuana when they legalize it, which is going to happen, and I think it will. I mean, it's going to happen. I'll be surprised if the Democrats in the Assembly and the Senate don't get it through, because literally that's all they've been talking about. This is how you give the revenue back to the MTA. Marijuana tax. Or sports betting. Sports betting is another idea. Let's put, an idea to every bet place should be going to the MTA or something. I don't know, but I think the marijuana tax would be more reasonable than saying, oh, well, we're going to hurt people's livelihoods by just, putting congestion pricing. So we'll have to see what happens, but I know I had to bring up a way to fund it, and I think the only logical way to fund it is with the marijuana tax. There's no tax, forget it. I'm not going to support it. Alright, next up, we are going to read 2 press releases from the MTA, and I quickly want to pull up the next tab. I do apologize about this, everyone. I should have had it up earlier, but I know where to find it. This came out on Thursday, January 10th. I will, of course, zoom in so that way we don't make regrettable decisions. Here we go. That's better. Alright. This is a readable quote right here. Back on Thursday, MTA officials met with Amtrak leadership to provide a briefing on the L train project. Back on Thursday, January 3rd, the MTA accepted recommendations of an expert review panel that the L train tunnel could be repaired while averting a closure. The expert team, comprised of the deans and faculty from Columbia University and Cornell University engineering schools, conducted weeks of extensive reviews and analysis while working directly with the MTA officials, design engineers, and contractors. After the MTA's leadership determined that the new scope of work could be achieved with the proper due diligence to ensure the safety and longevity of the project, Amtrak expressed interest in undertaking a preliminary review of these methods to see if they could be applied to any portions of its own projects, including the East River tunnels that link Manhattan and Brooklyn. Today's briefing, which again, this was released back on Thursday, was informative and productive for both parties, and back on Friday, January 4th, representatives from the MTA, Amtrak, and the expert review team, so pretty much back on Friday, here's what they did. They, once again, reviewed the East River Tunnel to continue this, they had to go back on Friday, because this was released on Thursday. Alright, so pretty much what they did was they reviewed the East River Tunnel that once again links Manhattan and Brooklyn to continue this important discussion. Meeting participants included MTA President Patrick Foy and Managing Director Vernique Hakim, Amtrak Senior Executive Vice President Stephen Gardner, Chief Engineer and Vice President Shahard Williams, and Amtrak staff, and WSP Senior Vice President Jerry Giannetti. Okay, so this is pretty much an old release. I know I had to read it, but it was very important because, as you know, our governor before the new year took a look at the tunnel himself, and 2 weeks ago he said, no, we're not going to close the tunnel. And I read this, and I read the other press release before. There's no need to read it again. But pretty much what I'm trying to say here is that this release will transition into the next press release, which is, of course, urgent, because I really hope that this video is going to be up before midnight. So I will read this very quickly. And I'm quickly going to mention a fellow YouTuber, and I don't care if I get bashed if I bring him up, because this is very important, and I must bring up this emergency board meeting. And by the way, if you are curious, my mom was asking me a question about how hot it was getting in the studio because she had to grab something. That's why she's in the background at the moment. I had to edit a little piece of this out, but anybody was curious. Alright, so tomorrow, January 15th, the MTA is going to hold an emergency board meeting at 12 noon to be briefed on matters related to the L train reconstruction project, which once again, the full board will be there tomorrow to discuss this, which unfortunately, we all know who's going to be there. Anissa Pika, the Executive Vice President of the Long Island Railroad. And here's the worst part, folks. Here's the awful part about this. Guess who else is gonna be there? Hang on, I forgot who the president of Metro North is. Who is the president of Metro North? Let's look her up, because I know I don't like her either. Because she gets too much time to talk. Yes, folks! Catherine Rinaldi. She will be there tomorrow. Uh-oh. She's probably going to get too much talking time, because the reason why I don't like her is because every time the Long Island Railroad and Metro North have joint committee meetings, this woman gets too much time to talk, which I'm not happy about every time Metro North has to do this with the Long Island Railroad. If you want a disgrace, this is a disgrace right here. Because the Long Island Railroad has more problems, unlike Metro North. Alright, so let's take a look at this press release. Alright, so we have design alternatives, new construction schedule developed by the construction managers. WSP, I think, are the people who are building this tunnel. Modified plan is a better alternative, does not require a total shutdown of the L train service. The full board will also be discussing the concept of hiring a new consultant, reporting directly to the chairman and the board to oversee operation, oversight and precautions to the L train and the tunnel reconstruction. So, once again, this meeting will be available to the public. And of course, public speakers are going to be allowed. So let's go to the information regarding this right now. And I'll quickly mention the committee meeting calendar. Let's see here for just a second. Here we go. So yeah, the special board meeting is listed for tomorrow. Once again, January 15th. It will be at 2 Broadway on the 20th floor. I will not be attending because, again, I'm already filming my summits for tomorrow. So, of course, I can't attend, and plus, even if I were to be able to attend, I feel that I have no need to speak at this because, honestly, I know I was fascinated about the shutdown, but now they're averting it, and, I really don't want to butt into something that I'm not really a big part of. Because the thing is, it's like, if I were to go to the Long Island Railroad and committee meetings, I have to go early, but, my schedule doesn't permit me to do that. So, obviously, I would be able to talk about issues, but I can't go. But, anyhow, in regards to tomorrow, I can confirm there is going to be a public speaker that we all know very well. Jason Anthony Panero will be at the board meeting. Not board, well, yeah, it's going to be a board meeting. We'll be at the board meeting, which will be, once again, tomorrow. It is a possibility Omar Vera could show up. I would like to see him, even though I was expecting to see him next week, or hopefully he could join me in Brooklyn in 2 weeks, but that's something that we'll have to discuss offline. But I'm also expecting a certain Mr. Murray Bowden to show up to this, because if he doesn't, I'll be surprised. I'll be completely surprised if Murray Bowden doesn't make a fool out of himself. Oh, it'll be gold if he doesn't. It will really be gold. If not, there's always next week, which is next Tuesday. Even if I wanted to go, I would say this now. The committees don't care. They don't care about Queens Village. Especially how when Matt Camper was talking about it for me, guess what? Still no noticeable change. And by the way, I'll quickly mention this now. Jason is going to be at the committee meetings like he normally is next week, and he possibly will ask Daryl Iwick, the president of New York City Bus, to give an estimation of when the new fleets come into Queens Village, because I told Jason right before I went over to do my shopping on Francis Lewis Boulevard today that I told him this. It's a possibility that the buses might not even be coming until 2020 at this point. Pretty much we're going to be stuck with this Orion 7 old gen fleet until the beginning of 2020, which by then, do you know how old those buses are going to be? They're going to be 16, 17 years old. The Nova Bus RTS, which first came to the MTA in 1998, they're still on the road, some of them. And thankfully, they're being phased out. The only reason why I liked those buses was because it was higher up. Yes, they were higher up. Lost old school type buses that were higher up. And especially how those buses, even though Nova Bus was a company from Canada, they actually manufactured those buses in New Mexico. So I'm a little bit proud to say it was American made, but my point is the L meeting's going to be interesting. And by the way, as the special board's going to be talking about the L train, guess what? Our governor's going to be giving his State of the State address tomorrow. And he's going to brag about taking over the MTA, which, by the way, I'm not going to read an article. I'm not in any mood. After what I saw today on the news, the governor wants complete control of the MTA, and he's going to keep pushing for congestion pricing. I'm just so annoyed with this governor. You know I've mentioned it numerous times. I don't want to talk about him. I'm going to be busy filming content for you guys. It's my own thing. I want you guys to have something to look forward to tomorrow, alright? I don't want to rant about him. I don't want to rant about, oh, well, Andrew Cuomo's doing this. I don't want to do that. No. Tomorrow's going to be interesting. I promise you all that right now. You all have my word. So that being all said, that's going to wrap up this news update. Mass Transit Headlines video, to be precise. Once again, to Jason, I hope he'll have some validated points tomorrow about this L train tunnel thing. Quickly going to mention that I'm not going to talk about the personal issues going on between everybody here on YouTube. That's not a cause of concern for me. I'm pretty much staying neutral to everyone, and that's how I'm going to keep it. So that being all said, thank you all so much for watching. Until the next one, please take care.